Greetings, all. Welcome to Aquarian Diary. I'm your host, John Irving. It is May 1st, 2023. Despite what many vested interests would prefer us to believe, inequality is not a natural state of being. In spirit and at our core, we are all equal, all divine parts of creation. False beliefs and deception lead us to think otherwise, however. As a result, we thus collectively experience disparity. In this material dimension, some have more power or wealth than others. But in the eye of the Creator, we are all loved equally. Of course, many do not fully believe or know this, but it doesn't mean it isn't true. On earth, we have been given the gift of agency and free will, after all. When most people think about inequality, they focus on the lack of fairness inherent in it. We then consider and debate ways of addressing the problem, such as progressive taxation, increasing taxes on the wealthy, wealth redistribution, better forms of political representation, and so on. We can fix many of the symptoms of the problem through legislative means, and there is some limited truth in that. However, there is a much more fundamental aspect of the current status quo that I believe is not wholly considered or understood. I can sum it up this way. Inequality or disparity is, in fact, exactly the desired outcome of this equation. It is not a bug, rather, it is a feature, in other words. The system we live within is deliberately engineered so that some have vastly more wealth than others, with extremes at both ends of the spectrum. Unfortunately, by design, there are magnitudes more people at the bottom of the economic pecking order than at the top. No amount of tweaking or legislation will ever correct this. The paradigm itself is fundamentally corrupt and flawed, and it is intentionally so. The only way to correct the status quo is for a major paradigm shift to occur. However, there are many powerful and deeply entrenched forces that would vehemently oppose this and who also perceive it as an existential threat, and justifiably so. Their unjust privilege is at risk. The current paradigm promotes those who are willing and capable of being unscrupulous, unethical, predatory, and narcissistic. They are also typically highly materialistic and indifferent to the plight of others. It is a virtual prerequisite that people have such characteristics in order to rise to positions of power, wealth, or authority. Thus, the status quo favors those who are harmful to society overall, and their influence is grossly and obscenely disproportionate to their actual numbers as a share of the population. There is nothing fair, just, or democratic about this situation at all. I am arguing that the last people we want defining our collective destiny are, in fact, doing exactly that. This environment is profoundly pernicious. We are indoctrinated into this paradigm, commencing as infants, and it continues relentlessly for the rest of our lives. The Darwinian survival of the fittest dogma is driven into our heads through all manner of social conditioning. Popular expressions of this include professional sports, celebrity culture, and Hollywood films. Those who prevail are the strongest, the most beautiful, the richest, or the shrewdest. We are also constantly subjected to a barrage of highly improbable fairy tale narratives and deceptive magical thinking. We are led to believe we might win the lottery. It's bread and circuses for us. To make matters worse, almost every time you spend money, you are feeding a paradigm that is both oppressing and harming you. It is also destroying the biosphere upon which your survival and the survival of future generations depends. It happens every time you put gas in your car, pay your utility bills, deposit money at your bank, purchase home improvement supplies, and so on. There is a great deal of deception in our world. Hence the sets of intentions I have published, but very few have seen. As I record this, the first intention I published here 3 weeks ago has not even been seen 100 times yet. This defies both logic and common sense. I will therefore put a link to it in the episode description, and I encourage you to familiarize yourself with the others I have produced as well. They are literally only a minute long each. 4 minutes of your time is all that is required. Who benefits from promoting and reinforcing the status quo? As I have stated earlier, it's the last people we want and need in positions of power and influence. We live, in fact, in an inverted social order. It is the inverse of what it should be, and it is self-reinforcing by design. As I have stated many times here before, the status quo is literally unsustainable. Its persistence and our survival as a species are diametrically and existentially opposed. In this polarization, there are 2 possible outcomes: paradigm shift or calamity. What can we do as individuals about this epic conundrum? For starters, we can decouple from the pervasive paradigm that threatens our own welfare and that of countless other species. We can stop believing the lie that those at the top of the current political, social, and economic orders are in fact actually deserving of their status or are accurate representatives of humanity as a whole. They are not. I have been making the case here for a long time that what we collectively experience on Earth is the product of our collective consciousness. When we shift our own consciousness, we affect the global consciousness. When a critical mass is achieved, or even tilts in a different direction, reality will shift accordingly. The age of Aquarius is about egalitarianism. There will be no obscenely wealthy people at the top of some purely artificial social order, while billions of others struggle to survive. However, achieving egalitarianism requires employing our individual agency and free will. Complacency is not an option. Do not underestimate the power and potency of your beliefs, whether they are conscious or unconscious. I implore you to contemplate, investigate, and shift your perspective, to become more aware of your subconscious social conditioning and false beliefs, and to purge lies from your being. At the very least, stop believing the lie that the way things are is natural, normal, desirable, immutable, or fated. I assure you It most certainly is not. You may be interested in my energetic protection classes that obviously deal with protection, but also clearing karma. Or you may be interested in booking an astrology reading with me. I'll put links to that in the episode description as well. Take care, all the best, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.